I see more people populating on there right now. So yeah, we'll wait.
Mm,
Soon as 7 hits, though, I'm looking at
it's
that
because
clock.
of,
It's
yeah,
7 o'clock.
your background on Rogers. I know you're used to sticking to that time, that countdown on Rogers, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you and I do a lot of television outside of webinars as well, so we know you got to hit these
mhm.
cues. But as I said, it's 7 o'clock, and I'm very excited, everyone, because registered dietitian Nicole Osinga is here. And I have known Nicole for quite some time because she was a regular and one of my favorites on Daytime. And today we're going to be talking about what's happening in terms of stress eating and comfort foods and what's going on inside us hormonally, because so many people right now, even me, I was saying before we started that normally I used to eat properly before all of this hit. And now the other day I said, instead of dinner, I just want to have a bag of popcorn. So I ate a bag of popcorn for dinner. And of course, then you don't sleep
Mhm.
well and all of these other things
Yeah.
happen. So Nicole, let's talk about what's
Mhm.
happening, the science and the chemicals that's going on in terms of serotonin, dopamine, cortisol. Tell us what's going on inside us right now when we're so stressed out.
Yeah, you're right, Denise. And it's, it's this stressful energy that's surrounding us, and it's been here for at least the last week, really intensely, right? So, yeah, and I think oftentimes too, when even the question that came up in the chat about stress eating, how do I combat that? I think we often blame ourselves, and I think we're often blaming that, like, oh, I can't control myself, I can't control my emotions, but it's biochemically, it makes sense why we're wanting to choose certain foods, because there is a chemical reason behind it. So I'll just sort of give a quick overview of the neurotransmitters that are really involved in how we're feeling now. So when we talk about stress, we're often talking about that stress hormone cortisol. That's that big one that gets elevated. A lot of our cortisol levels are really high right now. So that's one of them. And then you had mentioned, Denise, a few times, serotonin. So serotonin is that feel good, happy hormone. So, when that's low, then that can play into our food choices as well. And the third one I want to talk about is dopamine. So that's that neurotransmitter that it's sort of like that key factor behind motivation, productivity, and focus. So again, when that's low, then we make different food choices. So they're all going to affect what we eat.
That yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing because our cortisol levels are so high because of the stress and uncertainty of what's happening. And so then we want to
Mm-hmm.
eat the foods that will help us combat that and give us that serotonin boost. But I heard that when you eat those foods, those comfort foods, those high sugar foods, it actually the benefit only lasts for about 20 minutes and then it crashes again.
Well, exactly. And even if we sort of, and oftentimes the culprit, or what we were wanting to turn to during these times, is, those high carbohydrate, and not to, badmouth carbohydrates, right? All carbohydrates are different, right? But we're typically looking for really refined carbohydrates, because then we're going to get the quickest, blood sugar spike. And when our blood sugar spikes, that's when we actually get a serotonin spike as well. And same with a dopamine hit too. It feels good, and we get sort of that temporary energy, but then I kind of call it the blood sugar roller coaster. Once we sort of start going up, then we fall down quite quickly, and then what feels good to get that spike again? The same thing that we just did. Having that bag of popcorn, or whatever it is that we're reaching for, because our body wants to feel good, right? So I think it's helpful. I know we sort of dove right into the science of this, but it's important to understand what's going on, so we're not, and we can find more productive solutions to regulating those neurotransmitters.
So what can we do then? So if everything's out of
Yeah.
whack, what can
So
we do to bring ourselves?
and
Because I
even
think it's such an important time right now.
yeah.
So what would you recommend to bring
For
back
sure.
balance?
Yeah, and I think if we sort of, take a step back, and we sort of there's a number of things that we can do to increase our serotonin levels, decrease our cortisol levels. So I can dive right into those dietary strategies if we're ready for that.
Yeah, let's just do it because I think that's what
Perfect.
people want to
So
know.
yeah, definitely. So I'll highlight a few things that we can do. So the first one I want to talk about sort of those healthy fats. So we hear a lot about omega-3 fatty acids, and omega-3 fatty acids are typically found in fatty fish, so salmon, for example, also in plant-based sources such as chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts have a little bit of omega-3s in them as well. And why omega-3s are so important is they have an anti-inflammatory effect, which can help counteract the effects of some of these neurotransmitters when they're out of whack. So in particular, cortisol. So it can sort of help negate the effects of cortisol. Another thing I didn't mention yet about cortisol is cortisol tends to sort of be behind weight gain, especially around the abdominal area, because we think about it back to, our ancestors. When they were stressed, they needed to outrun a tiger or a bear, right? So they needed extra reserves for those times because that was like food scarcity was very real. So our bodies still thinking similarly to our ancestors and saying, hey, I'm recognized this is a high stress time. So I'm going to keep some weight on this person in case they need these reserves, down the line, right? So that's another effect that cortisol can have on us. So those omega-3s are really important. If you don't eat fish, I personally don't eat fish because I'm plant-based, but I would recommend taking an omega-3 supplement or, like I said, focusing on those plant-based sources as well. It's important for a lot of different reasons, heart health as well, but definitely important to lower those inflammation levels in the body.
And I have
So
noticed
that's
at the
strategy
grocery
number one.
store that there are nuts available on the shelves still, so that's good. That's not something that people are tending to hoard right now. So that's
Yeah.
beautiful. And how much would you suggest though? So it's important that we don't eat the whole thing of nuts because it's such a high caloric value food. So
Mm-hmm.
how much do we need?
Yeah. Yeah, so technically a serving of nuts is between, it depends what your goals are, but an eighth of a cup, so that's going to be about 10 to 12 almonds, for example, to a quarter of a cup, which is, yeah, double that amount. So that's one. The thing is you're not going to get all of your omega-3s from that eighth or quarter cup serving. So turn to sources like flax seeds, chia seeds. They're going to give you a little bit more. And then, like I said, supplement when you need to. My philosophy is food first and supplement if you want to fill in the gaps. But that's one thing it would be helpful to supplement with.
That's
Yeah.
very good.
So
So that was the
it's
omega.
a good observation to do. Yeah.
And I know that you're talking about also we need to eat more fats, and we've heard that a lot. Sometimes it's still scary. Back in my day, it was don't eat any fat, but now we know we need it for our
Mm-hmm.
brains, and especially during this
Mm-hmm.
time of stress. So, what are some of those healthy fats that we can get our hands on to incorporate?
Yeah, and good comment too. Even when I was in school about 10, 15 years ago, we learned that, low fat diets, that was a thing a decade ago, right? So that was something when I graduated, I was kind of taking with me. So but yeah, we know that fats are satiating. We need fats to absorb some of those fat soluble nutrients. So when I talk about healthy fats in general, so those mono unsaturated fats and those omega-3s, avocados, any kind of nuts and seeds really are really great sources. Olives as well, and typically whole foods first is my philosophy. Either mash some avocado on your toast versus even put like over like a butter or margarine. So yeah, healthy fats in general, like you had mentioned, Denise, good for brain health, good for satiety, good for lots of things. So definitely need those healthy fats.
And one thing I
Mm-hmm.
want to mention before we continue
Yeah.
on with the other three is that you have a beautiful Instagram page that people can go to where you will lay out for them. So sometimes the information that we're talking about can feel a little bit overwhelming, but you lay it out so simply that you can say, here are your meals for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's easy to get these all prepared. So I know we're talking about things that feels like I'm so stressed, but you
Yeah.
simplify everything. Did I lose you?
That's like cool.
Oh.
And because especially in a day and age where there's Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Now
Okay,
I can hear
perfect.
you. Yeah.
Awesome. What I was saying is that, we live in a out there, right? It can seem really complicated to eat healthy. So my goal is to simplify it for people, right? Um, so yes, so thank you for sort of plugging my Instagram. You always go there, and I always show my meal preps and meal plans. So it's just my first and last name, Nicole Osinga, and that's and then underscore RD. It's the it somewhere, but yeah, I always showcase free content on there.
And if anybody who's on right now, by the way, because I see who's on with us right now, I see Sandra, Laura, Karen, Irina, Dee Dee, Jennifer, Alice, Kelly, Judy, Jessica, Candy, Jane, and Christine so far. So hi, thank you everybody. If you have any questions for us, remember you're more than welcome to write them in the chat. And Laura said she can't get sound. Are you getting sound now, Laura? Who can you hear? Can you hear anyone? I hear you. So it might just be her computer. And
Yeah,
so let's talk about, okay, so we were at the healthy fats.
yeah.
Why are B vitamins so important right now? And where do we get these B vitamins?
Yeah, and when we talk B vitamins, there's a whole spectrum of different B vitamins ranging from B1 to B12. So they're really important for healthy nerve cells and brain cells. Just like, during pregnancy, we're recommended to supplement with folic acid. That's a B vitamin that's used to prevent neural tube
Folic
defects, so
acid
important
is a
for,
B vitamin?
proper growth and development of brain cells.
Sorry, I
Yes,
shouldn't
it is.
interrupt. It's
Yeah,
like,
it falls under
oh,
that spectrum of vitamins.
huh. Okay, carry
That's
on.
okay.
Sorry.
Now we know.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. So, like we know, yeah, we need folic acid to help create new cells, but just really that range of B vitamins that we're looking for. So they're found in things like green leafy veg, avocado again that keeps coming up, nuts and seeds, legumes. So a lot of those plant-based foods, with the exception of B12. So B12 is just found in animal products unless there's a plant-based product that's fortified with B12. So like our plant-based milks have some B12 added. Nutritional yeast has B12 added. So yeah, but in general, sort of a lot of those plant-based foods are important for B vitamins.
So with
Yeah,
all of these vitamins that you're talking about right
so that's
now,
that one.
it's important to do some meal prep at home. And what would you say the benefit of doing in this time? So in this time when there's a pandemic, do you suggest people do a planning of their
Mhm.
food per day? Do you do it per week? Do you cook your food when you're batch cooking? Do you cook it for 3 days?
Mhm.
How do you do it? We need some skills.
Yeah, and it's a great it's a great question, Denise. Really, there's not really one right answer. I can tell you what I do. With my practice, I'm often working into the evenings just because that's when people are available when I'm meeting with clients. But so I'm at the office till 8 p.m. a lot of nights. So for me, it works best to I don't prepare food for longer than 4 days at a time, just for food safety reasons and just the quality of our food degrades after that time. So me personally, I cook probably 3 entrees that I have for lunches and dinners from Monday to Thursdays, and then I'll have usually the same breakfast. And each week I'll mix it up, but I do that on Sunday, and then midway through the week I will cook another 1 or 2 entrees, and then I do grocery shopping always a different day than cooking, because if we think about meal planning, we think there's planning first, there's grocery shopping, and then there's cooking. Don't do them all on the same day because that's a lot to do all at once.
Mm.
So that's what I do personally. A lot of my clients, some of them will do sort of like a buffet meal prep. So they'll create a few different veggies. They'll do maybe like some starches and some different proteins, and then they'll kind of, mix and match. Like I'm okay with eating similar things for a few days. I'll mix it up each week, like I said. But if you're someone who craves variety all the time, you don't have to necessarily make a full meal ahead of time. Just do that buffet meal prep. Have some different items available that you can kind of, whatever you feel like that day, great, I have something that I can kind of throw into this dish. So however you want to do it, but definitely meal planning is important. And especially, at a time, even when the routines are off, you still have to plan your meals, because when hunger strikes, you're not going to have the patience to even, spend a half an hour cooking, because you want something now. So that's likely where the popcorn for dinner comes in, right? Because, and especially too during this time, like I was talking about with serotonin, cortisol, we want those comfort foods, and those are the things we reach for. So,
And
yeah.
I was listening to a podcast just before we hopped online together, and he said, and I so agree. He said, it's so important to have a good mindset during this time. However, it's very difficult
Mm-hmm.
to change your mindset when you're not eating properly and you're not moving your body. So, in this
Mm-hmm.
time when we're so wired to think everything has changed, I'm sitting at home. What do I normally do when I'm at home or in the evenings? They might eat different foods that they don't normally do during the week. And have you found that with your clients sometimes too, that they'll be so good during the week? This is back when things were
Oh, yeah.
operating normally, and then on the weekend they're like, I blew it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's I see that probably in 75-80% of my clients. So it's common, right? And I think a lot of that happens, well, for a number of reasons, but to kind of simplify it, oftentimes we're aiming for perfection to begin with. We're being so strict throughout the week, Monday to Friday, and then we think, okay, weekend is my time to sit back and relax. And when they find they're not seeing progress, really in the weekend is 2 days, but then maybe it's sleeping into Friday, right? So that's almost half your week. You're sort of saying, okay, I'm not going to meal plan. I'm just going to sit back and relax, right? I talk about the concept of plan some fun meals and snacks. Like, have your fun meal allowance that you can spend throughout the week. Like, for example, I normally say plan for 3 fun meals or snacks. Spend that so you're not aiming for perfection to begin with. That's huge.
Now, I also know that
Yeah.
a lot of people who would sign up
So,
for this
but
webinar, including me, who want to talk with you, is that because we want to change the way that we're eating. So in this time, I think it's important that, imagine if we switch the question, and instead of thinking, is this event happening to us, or is this event happening for us? Imagine if you were to get something out of what's happening. I mean, because we can't change it. And my heart
mm,
goes out to the people that have COVID, who have lost loved ones to COVID. But right now, when you're in your homes and you're
mm,
watching this webinar and you're feeling safe, maybe you can take what Nicole is saying and you can say, this is the time where I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to, for me, possibly learning how to cook. I cooked a meal
mm.
yesterday, Nicole. I'm not a cook. I was so happy. I cooked a lovely meal.
Yeah,
It even had
amazing.
green beans and almonds, slivered almonds in it. And I thought, look at me cooking in a time
I
like
love
this.
it.
So I think that
Yay.
I think it's so important in all of this, as hard as it is, because sometimes the panic is so scary, you feel sort of like stuck where you are. But to take the advice of particularly someone like you, who's so knowledgeable at food, and say, I am committed to doing the best I can for my body right now. And don't judge yourself. 100%, don't judge yourself for if you don't do everything perfectly and you don't get the meal plan done perfectly. Now's not the time to judge. Now's the time to do the best you can and also look out for other people. So let's go back to what your expertise
Mm.
are. And we talked about the B vitamins. Let's talk about probiotics and fermented foods. That doesn't sound like something yummy.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of research around the gut and gut health right now, and 90% of our serotonin is actually produced in our gut. So, what probiotics are, they're essentially, sort of new bacteria that, we can introduce to our gut health. When we're not being kind to our gut and not eating well, then, likely those serotonin levels are going to be interrupted and interfered with. So, yeah, so probiotics, I mean, those, like I said, those are those new bacteria that we can introduce. We can take a supplement to get probiotics. We can also get probiotics, through yogurt. Just a note with that, though, usually the probiotics that naturally exist in yogurt, the count isn't high enough to actually make it to your large intestine, which is where we need them. Because it's because if you think about it, it has to pass through our stomach with all that that stomach acid, right? We usually need a pretty high count to actually have a significant effect. So for the probiotic piece, my best advice would be to think about or talk to someone about maybe implementing a probiotic. Talk to a dietitian or your health professional. Probiotics is a ton of different strands. Not every strand is going to be right for you, but even on the piece about fermented foods, so fermented foods do have some natural sort of healthy bacteria to them. They're great to incorporate into your diet. So things like tempeh is sort of like a fermented tofu is sort of how I describe to people. And I know that probably doesn't sound like the most appealing thing ever, but it's a protein alternative to your animal protein, so something to try. Things like kimchi, there's lots of sort of natural. Kombucha is another example. There's a lot of sort of naturally fermented foods that are great. Yeah.
Okay, and in terms of those foods that you were just mentioning, for you yourself personally, have you been out shopping to see how readily available they are? I noticed today that at Farm Boy it was fully stocked.
Yeah, so we live actually just behind a Loblaws in Bowmanville, and I do go to shop, but it's funny. I've put that task in my fiance's list of tasks to do the grocery shopping since I do the cooking. So he's the one who's typically going out. But it was funny. He was mentioning the other day. He said, the food that we typically eat is there. Like there's lots of beans, there's lots of nuts. There's like and the thing is too, yes, fresh produce is likely a little bit scarce at this time, but frozen veggies are just as good as fresh, really. Like I think we have to sort of accept that fresh isn't the only way to go. Stock up on those frozen veg, and then that way too, like let's say like it's just us two, we might not be able to go through like a whole box of spinach in 1 week or so. So it might be better for us to just grab that frozen option. So those are alternatives when stock is running low.
And let's talk about sugar, just straight out sugar. Someone on the chat asked a question and she was asking about, I'm trying to go back up. I think it might have, I can't see it. It was about organic sugar. And if it's, is using organic sugar helpful? Is organic sugar just the same as eating sugar?
Yeah. It's and I could probably go on with this forever, but slapping the organic label on something doesn't make it healthy. There's organic Oreos. I mean, the thing is with that, it's what I call a health halo. And I think I remember I might have done a segment with you back on Daytime about health halos. I'm not quite sure, but it's that thing that makes us. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah, so we sort of overestimate the healthfulness of the food just because there's organic or vegan or gluten-free, right? So sugar is sugar, period.
And what kind of havoc does sugar do? Because I think it's a little bit more dangerous than we know in terms of what it's doing to our chemicals in our brain and in our gut. What does sugar do? So let's say that we reach for that comfort food because we're stressed. We eat a chocolate bar. We eat the chips. I guess chips really aren't sugar. I guess are chips sugar? They must be. There's carbs in the potato.
Yeah, so there's starch. So starch is a longer sort of chain of sugar molecules. So starch essentially breaks down to glucose, but they're under the category of carbohydrates.
Okay, so let's say go back to the sugar. What is sugar doing to us?
Yeah, so and going back to what I started talking about, sort of that blood sugar roller coaster. Again, I don't want to sort of categorize sugar as bad overall, right? It's just when we're overdoing it, and it's easy to overdo it because sugar is in a lot of comfort foods. It doesn't provide a ton of satiety for overdoing. And typically when we're eating larger amounts of sugar, we're eating that unrefined sugar, which is not providing us with much nutrients, and we're filling up on that kind of stuff. So then that can lead to nutrient deficiencies versus if we were getting our sugars from fruits. Of course there's lots of sugars in fruits. And it can lead to overeating because we're not actually satiated by that refined sugar. But like I said, not all sugar is bad. I mean, I'm a runner and I need, I have these energy gels that I will have every 10 kilometers or hour or so. And my body needs that at that time. But, it's just when we're sort of over consuming it, producing more inflammation, messing with those neurotransmitters like serotonin, that's when it can be harmful.
I'm glad you said running because you're a runner. And that is the fifth strategy that I want to talk about, because we talked about having extra omega-3s, healthy fats, B vitamins, probiotics, and fermented foods. And now let's talk about getting outdoors and the importance of sunshine. You can do that still distancing yourself from other people. But why is this so important, even when we're talking about nutrition?
Yeah, so for a number of reasons, well, being outside, I mean, maybe not so much this time of year, but we need vitamin D, and the biggest source of vitamin D that we can get is from the sun, really. Again, not unfortunately this time of year as much, but even just moving your body, that helps us release those happy hormones, which can give us that serotonin boost from being outside. So then we're not actually searching for that serotonin boost from food. So I think that's something to take away from this, understanding, yes, we're talking these science terms and they might not be applicable to everyday life, but if we can understand what's going on, then we can look for alternatives. Okay, I know my serotonin is low right now. How can I boost it? I can go outside. I can spend time with spend time over FaceTime with my loved ones. I can, go for a run, do whatever. But yeah, so that's how that can be helpful in this situation.
And where can people get a copy of your book, or how can they reach out to you? I know you also have free assistance for people. So if you go to your website, you have a free downloadable so they can download a meal plan, because it can get really complicated and we all want to know how to eat healthy, particularly in this time. So how can people reach you? And I know I put a link to your book at the very top of the chat.
Yeah. So you can go to my website. It's my name, NicoleOsinga.com. And you're right, Denise. I showed on Instagram yesterday that I have a tab for freebies. So I have one week meal plan available there. I have a few free downloadable items along with another 3-day meal plan. So that's a good sort of starter pack. But if you want more, you can download my ebook, like you said, that you provide the link. And I'm actually giving people on this webinar a special discount code for 25% off. So it's CALM in capitals. CALM is the discount code, and that's only going to be active I'm going to keep it active for a few days. So definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, because it can get so complicated. So I just want to make a couple of the comments. Sandy Grant is writing to us, Nicole. And Sandy said,
hi, Sandy.
She said, explain flash frozen and how we can use flash frozen fruits as a fun food like smoothies.
Yeah, so flash frozen, it's just, it's the produce is blanched. It's just sort of really quickly kind of dipped in sort of, water and sort of at a higher temperature just to kind of freeze that. So it's blanched first and then it's frozen just to make sure that there's no sort of chemical activity or room for bacteria to grow. We could use, flash frozen fruits as a fun food, but even just, everyday foods. I mean, they're a great option to try. I like to do frozen fruits all the time in smoothies, or even, in a yogurt parfait or chia pudding. And I do tend to recommend to people to choose plain yogurts, but if you let frozen fruit melt over that plain yogurt, then it becomes sort of a really decadent treat. So, you can use that anytime.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna do this meal plan. This is so fun. Okay, and so Candy, I think it's Candy Lee, who I know, or maybe it's somebody named Candace Lee, but I think it's my friend Candy. She said, do you suggest on top of taking a multiple vitamin, do we take a B vitamin and an omega vitamin and a probiotic too? So that was, she said it's me. So it's Candy. She said, so should we take multiple vitamin, omega, and a probiotic?
So I would say, first of all, before we go out to supplement and add all these things to our diet, really go to a dietitian to sort of assess what your diet does look like, and also to assess any kind of health conditions or medications you might be on, because sometimes there can be interactions with omega-3s, for example. So I would say always sort of get that assistance first before just adding everything. I can give you a statement about multivitamins. Besides prenatal multivitamins, multivitamins in general likely aren't the most helpful thing, for a few reasons. There's nutrients that tend to kind of stick together, so we can't actually absorb much of anything in that multivitamin. And the dose of nutrients that it provides isn't necessarily, a high amount. So you're better off just trying to eat a balanced diet, and potentially you could supplement with omega-3s, B vitamins, and probiotics. That wasn't a simple answer, but before you just go out and add a bunch of things, I would get it assessed. Mm-hmm.
And then I have another question. She says, I've been navigating a gluten-free, dairy-free lifestyle. Is there a dairy-free yogurt out there? Yogurt with fruit sounds so yummy, but it has been a no-no for me. Is Greek yogurt? Greek yogurt's still dairy, isn't it?
It is. Like, you can get a lactose-free Greek yogurt, but it's still dairy. There are some dairy-free yogurts out there. So, for example, Yoso, Y-O-S-O, is a brand that I've been seeing more often. I think Daya has some dairy-free yogurts. However, in terms of the nutritional composition of them, I haven't seen a dairy-free yogurt that I've been impressed with. They tend to be high in sugar. They're just, as an alternative though, Cheryl, what I would suggest is make a chia seed pudding with a dairy-free yogurt. So you could use a coconut milk, you could use like a soy milk, whatever you like. Add some chia seeds in, refrigerate it for at least 2 hours, and then it sort of forms that gel. So it has a nice texture. But yeah, I haven't been impressed by a lot of dairy-free yogurts out there. I can let you know once I see one that I do like. But yeah, maybe go sort of the chia seed pudding route
The chia seed
instead.
pudding that you're saying is it's so easy to store right now. So you can buy all the chia seeds and keep them in your pantry, and they're going to last a long time. And you just make it it's so simple to make that even I said I don't cook and I can make chia seed pudding.
Exactly. I know. I love it. I love grabbing a chia seed pudding in the morning or for snack. And yeah, no, totally. It's a great option.
So what I'm going to recommend is, so we've just covered a lot of things. We've talked about adding the extra omega-3s, the healthy fats, the B vitamins, the probiotics and fermented food, and getting the sunshine and outdoors. And also to go to NicoleOsinga.com to download your freebies so that you can start doing your meal planning. And it's 7:32. And I just want to say, we're going to get through this, everyone, and we can get through it together, and we can get through it healthy. So this will end, and when it does, it's going to feel so good if you can cope in a healthy manner and get through it really healthy and strong on the other side, because the healthier you are, the more able you are also to help other people. So I wish you all the best. I love you all, and I hope to see you again on another webinar. And Nicole, thank you so much for spending your time with us today.
Thanks for having me, Denise. This has been great.
It's so much fun. Okay.